Hello, this is Cho of the Shiny Colors Discord, and welcome to another episode of the Shiny Review. Today we're going to be talking about the latest P-SSR for Toru, as well as the support SSR for Hinata and Madoka. Please keep in mind that Toru and Hinata are both limited units, and they may not see a rerun in the future, so please be careful and consider this when you pull. Let's go ahead and get started and talk about Toru. In the fastest turnaround we've seen in a long time, Toru 2 arrives on the scene as the first limited P-SSR for Noctchill. When we originally recorded the shiny reviews for the previous Noctchill cards, it became clear that they were pushing for Vocal, and this Toru is absolutely no exception. She rocks the highest total stat uncap for a single stat at plus 350 when maxed out, and is crazily overtuned in all manners of offense and defense. Having access to a very unique style of buff for Vocal that in best case scenarios delivers plus 500% to your Vocal stat, while also providing opportunities to dodge attacks with insanely strong 1-star and 2-star passives, makes Toru one of the craziest cards we've seen yet, even outpacing Asahi 2. If you plan to run Noctchill, you need this Toru. Toru 1 is already retired unless you really like the future of Dance Noctchill. Her roles are Center, Buffer, Dodge Tank, Nuker, as well as Attack All, and I highly recommend that you pull this card if you run either Vocal Alstroemeria or any sort of Vocal 3-piece team, and especially if you want to run Noctchill. Toru's initial skill is a Vocal 2.5 that attacks all judges and applies a unique buff. For 3 turns, assuming that she dodges an attack, she gets a Vocal 100% buff per dodge, up to twice, meaning that off this skill, if you activate a dodge and are able to dodge 2 attacks on that turn, you receive a 200% Vocal buff. This buff lasts for 3 turns, and each of the buffs lasts for 3 turns once activated. This then links into a Vocal 1.0 appeal that attacks all judges and only requires Koito. At max, this skill becomes a Vocal 4.0 to all judges, applies the same Vocal 100% buff per successful dodge, except now it has a maximum of 3 that lasts for 3 turns. So combined, you can actually get plus 500% off of both of her appeals. Her link appeal for this skill is a Vocal 1.5 that attacks all judges and requires Madoka and Hinata. Her 1-star passive is a Vocal 50% buff that also increases your dodge rate by 20% and requires only Toru to be on your team, which is pretty simple when you consider it. 30% chance to activate 3 times, and her 1-star also unlocks an additional plus 50 Vocal uncap. Her 2-star passive is a Vocal 75% up that increases your dodge rate by 30%, requires Toru, and has a 30% chance to activate 3 times. This also unlocks another plus 50 Vocal uncap. At 3 stars, Toru unlocks a Vocal plus 150 uncap, as well as Mental plus 100 uncap. Also bear in mind that at 0 stars, she has access to 2 separate plus 50 Vocal uncaps, which is where the plus 350 at the beginning of the video comes from. Her memory appeal when maxed out is a Vocal 120% buff until you are damaged, and it links into a Vocal 3.0 appeal on all judges. For support recommendations, Hinata is more or less required to make the most of Toru 2. Madoka is surprisingly very competent in this build, but I imagine she'll be pushed out in the future. We'll go into more detail about those two later. The rest of the cards here, including Kaho and Natsuha, who were recommended by Takayama P, are very solid vocal supports for this Toru. For the alternatives, grab whichever vocal supports you might want to accommodate for Toru's desire to get hit. Attention Raisers will pair well with her, but make sure that you find a balance so that you don't end up taking too many unnecessary hits. Jury comes to mind immediately, though she is not quite as strong as she used to be, and of course any of the Illumination Stars cards that have some sort of influence on either SP or Vocal are greatly appreciated. As for our team recommendation, this is basically all you got. Madoka 1, Koito 1, Hinata 1, or you could choose to run the Idle Road Hinata and Toru 2 as your center. Set up your dodge chances, and hope that Toru or your Madoka support amplifies them, apply Toru's appeals, and then just wait and see. If things work out, you can look at almost 600 to 700% vocal buffs by the time you're ready to memory appeal, which is absolutely ridiculous. For some alternatives, if you're looking for a 5th member, there's basically only 3 that we've seen so far in the higher grades. The first is Rinzai 4, though you could substitute it for an SR Rinzai that buffs vocal, or SSR3 Rinzai, as being able to increase your vocal stat even more is greatly appreciated, and being able to manipulate your memory gauge is also a worthwhile cause. If you want a more defensive approach, you can choose Sakuya 4 or Kiriko 4. Unfortunately, they don't really have any particular alternatives in the SR variety, but this focuses more on stalling out for your memory appeal while also building up the chance of being able to use Toru's big buffs. Overall, Toru as a center gets a nice S+. maybe even closer to a double S-. This card is honestly really scary in the right situation. If you're able to consistently avoid attacks through dodging, you can sit on a plus 120% vocal buff forever. She's a straight upgrade from SSR1 Koito, and even comes with a more powerful Link appeal to boot. This card is only going to get stronger and definitely more meta-relevant once Noctchill receives TFD and Grad access. As a unit, she gets a very easy double S. This card is honestly ridiculous, as early as being just a 2-star unit. Being able to provide a 200% vocal buff to the right teams is incredibly strong, and once you get access to 4 stars, a 500% buff is ridiculous overkill. I have a feeling that they overtuned this card in the last few months, after they saw what happened with Grad access for Illumination stars and especially Austrameria, so they wanted to give Noctchill a chance to compete, but in turn they've made a card that I don't think is going to be bad for a very long while. She's a fantastic unit to splash into vocal teams like Austrameria if you can afford it, thanks to her buffing ability, and penchant for dodging damage. She's a must-have for Noctchill. Next we have Hinata. Joining Limited Toru, we have Limited Hinata as our gacha support this time around, and boy is she good at vocal. If you didn't believe in vocal Noctchill before, you will now. The main things to keep in mind with Hinata are her high SP and vocal masteries, access to room stamina, her scaling defensive appeal when it comes to auditions, and her wild passives. Her support skills are Idol's Bond, Promise Recovery, and Rest Boost, and her unique support skills are Unit Mastery SP and Unit Mastery Vocal, which reach plus 8 at level 70, and Vocal Mastery Stamina, which reaches plus 8 at level 75. Her support appeal at level 60 is a Vocal 3.0 that applies a 10% dodge chance for 2 turns, and at level 80 this is increased to a 50% dodge chance for 2 turns. Her TFD idea is Vocal, and her Insight token for Grad is Dance. Hinata's 1-star passive is a Vocal 50% up that requires an active dodge buff. So remember, this can be applied off of either her 4-star appeal, the Madoka's 4-star appeal, which we'll talk about, or cards like the SSR Madoka Produce, or the Hinata Produce, as they apply active dodge buffs. This passive has a 20% chance to activate 3 times. Her 2-star passive is a Vocal 75% up that requires an active dodge buff, and again has a 20% chance to activate 3 times. Her 3-star uncap is a plus 100 to Vocal, and her 4-star appeal is a Vocal 3.0 that applies a 20% dodge chance for 3 turns. Her event passive is a Vocal 30% up that requires Hinata on your team, and has a 20% chance to activate twice. This card gets anywhere from a B to a double S. For teams that can't really use her necessarily, she would get a B, but for most vocal teams, it is a very clear double S. This card is honestly ridiculous, and part of the reason why Toru 2 is so powerful. Between the 4-star appeal, the Madoka 4-star appeal, or P-SSR Madoka and Hinata's appeals as we mentioned before, you can reap the benefits of her very strong 1 and 2-star passives. She also has the highest vocal uncap of any recent card at plus 200 when maxed out. She has insanely high value in 1 card. I highly recommend pulling for this Hinata if you want to build Noctchill in the future, or have gotten Toru 2 and need a step in the right direction. Lastly, we have the event card, Madoka. Our event card this time around is Madoka, who is surprisingly competent for a freebie. She has a fairly reasonable amount of vocal mastery when you consider it being unit mastery, along with stamina support to pair off with the limited Hinata's support's vocal stamina. Combined with her passives, she's a great card for Noctchill currently. Her support skills are Idol's Bond, Promise Recovery, Rest Boost, as well as stamina support, and her unique mastery is Unit Mastery Vocal, which reaches plus 8 at level 75. Her support appeal does scale, as per most of the event SSRs, which starts at a 2.6 at level 60 and becomes a Vocal 3.0 at level 80. Her TFD idea is Vocal, and her Insight token for Grad is also Vocal. Madoka's 1-star passive is a Vocal 18% up that requires the turn count to be 4 or less. This has a 30% chance to activate once. Her 2-star passive, which is interesting, is an increased dodge chance by 18% up that requires an active dodge buff. This has a 30% chance to activate once. Her 3-star uncap is a plus 50 to Vocal, and her 4-star appeal is a Vocal 2.0 that applies a 10% dodge chance for 3 turns. She gets anywhere from an A to a B+, again depending on how well you're able to use dodge. Noctchill players will greatly value Madoka's 2-star passive, as improving your current odds of dodging by 18% per version of Madoka that you might have on your supports, meaning that in a good case scenario you could be seeing over 100% dodge chance. It's greatly appreciated and definitely crazy in the right circumstances. Her appeal will be great if you lack Hinata's support appeal and plays into the strengths of vocal Noctchill. Coupled with her solid masteries, she is a fairly competent event support that will see a fair amount of play. I recommend farming for this card while you still have time. And that's going to do it for the video today. Thank you so much as always for watching. If you like what you saw, make sure to like the video and share it around to let people know what we're doing here. Next time, we'll be talking about the next card, which has already been announced. It's going to be P-SSR2 Mono. So, sorry Fuyuko and Yuika fans, you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer. So, till next time, I've been Sho, thanks for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your day.